Hi, everybody. Welcome to ZTV Live. I'm Susan Mulligan Fleischman, and today is Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining the show. Tonight is an edition of Reading, Writing, and Ralph's guest is Martha Carucci, author of Sobrietease 2, Make It a Double. I did want to just let everybody know that the Zebra October issue is on newsstands now, and it's chock full of great news, information, wonderful news stories. So please look at it, look for it in all the red zebra boxes around town, and share it with friends. If you can't get it, a hard copy of it, you can also read it online, but there's just something about holding a newspaper that's so wonderful, and especially the Zebra. It's big and colorful and wonderful paper quality, so make sure you pick up an edition of the brand new October edition of the Zebra. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring our Ralph Peluso on the screen. Hey, Ralph, how are you?
Hey, Susan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Good to see you again.
Good to see you as always. And
Yeah.
before we get started, I wanted to give a shout out to Kelly M. She was back with us last week after a little bit of an absence, so it's good to have her back as
Definitely.
well. And we know she's quick on the trigger with those trivia questions.
That's right. That's right. We'll be writing him down. So everybody get ready for Ralph's wonderful trivia questions. People who win the trivia questions are the first to comment with the correct answer win a signed copy of the book. So that's a wonderful prize. And speaking of the book, let me go ahead and bring Martha Carucci, our featured guest author, on screen tonight. Hey, Martha. Welcome to ZTV Live.
Hey, Susan, thank you. Hey, Ralph.
How you doing?
I'm good. It's good to see you both.
Yep.
Welcome.
Look, Ralph and Martha, I'm going to let you guys take it away.
Great. Thank you. Well, Martha, I'm so glad to have you on tonight. You have such a wonderful story to tell. And I always ask and start the show with the authors giving some of their background to the viewer so they can get to know you a little more personally and real. So tell everybody about your background.
Great. Thanks, Ralph. It's good to be on, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate you giving me the 5-star Zebra review for my last book, which came out in 2016. So it's really nice to be able to talk to you again. Yeah, so my background, I told you a little bit about, was I was a lobbyist in the telecommunications world for many years here in D.C., and I enjoyed that, but there was a lot of partying and events and fundraisers and receptions and things that went with that. So a lot of what I did, I considered to be normal because I was surrounded by a lot of drinking. And then when I had my second child, when he turned 1, I decided to stay home and be a mom to my kids and leave that lobbying world. And that was really when I lost myself a little bit and turned a lot to alcohol. And I would kind of look forward to that 5 o'clock hour when I would be making dinner for my family and open a bottle of wine. And before I knew it, a glass turned into the whole bottle being gone. And I would hide it before my husband got home from work so he wouldn't see that I already had one. Then I had a third child and continued to stay home. And, after several years of my drinking getting progressively worse, I realized it was time to get some help and get sober. And I've been sober a little over 8 years now. I think it's actually 3,051 days. Not that I'm counting, but
Wow, that's amazing. The thing that's struck me about your book and your intestinal fortitude, much different than when I was growing up. When I was growing up, everybody had that uncle or two. And we had my great uncle Joe, who was one of my great grandmother's children. She had 16. He never spent any time with the family. He had a wife. Whenever there was a big gathering, Uncle Joe was always confined to his room. And that's because Uncle Joe was an alcoholic. And you never knew which Uncle Joe you were going to get. And so it was like everybody's dirty little secret. And you had the courage, with the help of your husband, to bring that out into the open. So explain that process and tell the audience about how you did that and why you did that and why it was so important.
Sure. It's, I think that alcoholism is still such a stigma in our society. We spend so much time talking about the opioid epidemic and, what's going on with that, while, alcoholism is killing so many people, and it's considered legal. And, it was something that after I had been sober about a year, a lot of people turn to journaling, but I want to just say that I never really considered myself a writer, which is just so interesting with this whole journey. But I started to write a blog, and I did that blog anonymously for a year as sober mom. And a local pastor, he and I were talking on our kids' field trip on the school bus. And he asked me later if he could interview me and play my story for his congregation. And he said that he would play my voice anonymously. But that he'd really like to share my story with part of a sermon series that he was doing. So I said, I went home and I talked to my husband and I told him that this was going to be, that we were considering this and that it would be anonymous. And here's someone who I consider, a very private person, my husband. He was a Naval Academy graduate, and I just thought the response was going to be, hell no, are we going to share our personal story and our family, details with the world? But I was surprised because he just said, look, if you believe very strongly in helping other people with this disease, why don't you forego the anonymity? And the next person I talked to was my daughter. She's my oldest, and I think she was about 10 years old at the time. And I just said, what would you do if I shared my story to try to help other people? What would you do if one of your friends said something to you about your mom being an alcoholic? And really, without hesitation, she just said, I would say that my mom used to drink a lot and she doesn't anymore. And I'm really proud of her. And that was kind of all it took for me to decide to go forward with being very open about this. So I wrote a piece in my first book, and it was called Coming Out Party. And I said, almost everyone knows someone who struggles with addiction in one form or another. And if you don't, then you do right now. It's me, and I'm the one who's been writing this blog for a year. And I want to share my story so that I can help others. And, kind of selfishly, it really made it easier for me, because until then I would go out and be in a neighborhood where I'm surrounded by a lot of drinking. There was a lot of social activities. And I always wondered, like, who knew about me and who didn't know and who was going to offer me a soft drink instead of my usual. And it made it very easy when I came out to be open about it, because everybody knew. And I was blown away by the warmth and the support that I got on Facebook and my blog and stuff. So ever since then, I've just been very open about it. And, alcoholism is a very private thing. And like I said, there's still such a stigma about it that when people ask me what my book is about and I say it, some of them are very uncomfortable. But I really want to have it be an open discussion, a dialogue. And I want people to know that when you picture, when you hear the word alcoholic, many people picture the bum under the bridge with the brown paper bag. And not the mom sitting next to them at the PTA meeting or at your kid's soccer or lacrosse game. And, here I am. I'm an alcoholic, but I have worked really hard for over 8 years to get sober and stay sober. And I don't want all the people who are out there suffering in silence to not realize that they too can turn things around.
Yeah, that's very profound, because a lot more people than I think any of us realize suffer with some form of addiction. And with alcoholism, there is a stigma that sort of keeps people from admitting it. And when you go out and admit it, it's really great. I think it makes other people stronger. There was one thing in your first book that I think anybody who reads it, it catches their attention. And it was something along the line, it's been 3-4 years since that book, so I'm going from memory, where you said, at a party, I was that girl. So how did it feel being that girl, and how much, and tell us the process of that point when you recognized that you were that girl? And
So I think that I always felt, like I said, because of my career and because of, our society, I considered my behavior very normal, because I was surrounded by people who, if they were having book club, it was drinks with it. If they were having a kids look sporting event. There was a tailgate with drinking. So, and when I was lobbying, it was constant, cocktails at lunch, cocktails after work, receptions. So I just thought I was in the normal world doing what everyone else did. But what I like to say, and I say it a lot in the first book, is that I have a broken off switch. When most people would think, like, you know what, I've had enough to drink, or I have an early morning, I have to get up, I don't want to feel bad, they would do the rational thing, which is to stop. And switch to water or something. But with my broken off switch, it was never enough. Once I started drinking, it was off to the races, and usually until I passed out or blacked out. There were some nights I could just go have one or two, but then there were others where once I started, it was kind of out of my control because of the disease.
Yeah, you were a lobbyist for the telecommunications industry, but I hadn't mentioned previously that I actually worked in the telecommunication industry from 1970 to 2000. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And I worked for MCI for about 25 years and then Windstar. So there were more parties than anybody could imagine, as you know.
Yeah.
So, so you knew it was time to stop, and you did it pretty much cold turkey, I would guess. So what did it feel like the first time, or sometimes when you were at an event or at the bar and somebody said, you want a drink? And 8 years later, if you get that same question, is the feeling still the same, or you feel a whole lot different about it?
I feel a whole lot different. And it's so funny because when I first got sober, it was just this complete panic and fear of how am I possibly going to go anywhere? People are going to look at me and they're used to me drinking and they're going to wonder why and what do I say? And what I realize now is nobody really cares what you're doing. They really don't care what is in your cup. One of the pieces in my book is called Red Solo Cups with an expletive in there that is, little symbols. But I learned the trick of, getting a drink as soon as I get to a social function, getting something non-alcoholic in my hand, and then people don't ask me. But that's, in the beginning, it was just so much fear and panic on my part about the perception from the outside world about my drinking and what I was doing. And I have a friend who says I have to find the right size box. People didn't really care that much what I was doing or what I was drinking. And so I just kind of get a drink in my hand now. I'm much more comfortable now being out and around people who drink. In my early sobriety, I couldn't do that. It was very, very difficult for me. And it was really sweet. I talk about it in the book that my friends would say things like, hey, come to this party or come out because I won't drink either. I'll be with you. I won't drink. And it was a wonderful, genuine gesture, but that's just not how it works for me. It didn't matter to me whether they were drinking or not. The temptation was so great for me sometimes, and it still comes up once in a while where I'll have that crazy thought in my head, like, a drink would taste really good right now. And especially when things are chaotic and busy and I'm overwhelmed. Drinking for me used to be my go-to for how I would numb things out, for how I would relax, for how I would, everything. And it's taken, all this time, over 8 years, to really recondition my brain and learn different ways to calm myself down, different ways to function without that liquid courage that alcohol used to give me.
Right. Sort of like fool's gold.
Yeah.
That's the kind of courage it was. At this point, we're going to ask the first trivia question. And so these are a little bit different, but they'll be equally as fun. Remember, the first person in with the correct answer for each of the three will get an autographed copy of Sobriety's 2. I'll have another. Or make it a double. I'm sorry. So the first question is, in John O'Reilly's dark and sobering look at alcoholism leaving Las Vegas, which starred Nicolas Cage and Elizabeth Shue, what Motown singer played the curious cab driver? The first person with the correct answer. So,
there's a great scene in that movie where Nicolas Cage says, "Just don't ask me to stop drinking." Do you remember that?
Oh, that was a tough
That was a
movie.
really tough
And the
movie.
book is tough too, because the book goes into a lot more detail, and it's very, it's very dark and somber, and Cage played it just so well. It was incredible. But so Sobrietease, you write the book, you put your heart out there, and now 4 years later, you want to continue the story. Why?
So, I just basically continued writing and continued the blog. And so the second book, Sobrietease 2, Make It a Double, is a continuation of my journey. And I really think that, as I evolved, the writing evolved. And I'd love to know what you think, because you've reviewed both books. And I feel like it's gotten a little bit better, and I've learned so much more. And I've gotten so many more tools to help me in my sobriety that I've tried to share and pass on. So it's just kind of me continuing the story and continuing my journey and sharing with people.
Yeah, I think the stories are sharper in Sobrietease 2. I'll make it a double. And I found them easier to read and understood the themes a little bit better. You mentioned Red Solo Cup, effing whatever. But one of the ones that caught my eye was float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. And it turns out that you met Muhammad Ali, so tell your story. And I met Muhammad Ali, so I'll let you tell yours first. Go ahead.
Yes. When I first came to DC after college, I was working for the National Association of Broadcasters, and we were in a conference room, and we noticed that there was this big kind of crowd gathering across the street and some kind of excitement and commotion. So being the new person and the, low man on the totem pole, they said, "Martha, go out there and see what's going on." So I went outside, and there was a bank, and coming out of a bank was Muhammad Ali and his entourage of people. And, everybody was gathered around, and I was kind of standing near a pillar outside the bank. And Muhammad Ali was standing near one. So he kind of moved himself and his body to hide behind the pillar. And he was just poking his eye out halfway. And then he would go back and poke it right at me, like doing this little hide and seek game. And then he kind of motioned for me to come over. And the whole crowd is just watching this. And he leaned, he got close to me, and he gave me a little kiss on the cheek. So I went running back into the building, jumping up and down, going, "The champ just kissed me. The champ just kissed me." And they were laughing so hard, and they were so jealous. They were like, "Oh, we should have gone ourselves to check it out, but we had to send the new girl." So that was my story about Muhammad Ali. It was a neat event. Yeah, it was a neat day.
Wow, that is special. Now, I met Muhammad Ali. A friend of mine was the controller for Madison Square Garden, and we got ringside tickets to the Ernie Shavers Muhammad Ali fight at the Garden, right in the front row, and we got press passes. So we went to the press conference, and of course, everybody's there after the fight. But Ali obviously has to get showered and cooled down, and so it was a while. But he comes in, and he's very gracious, and you can sense the presence of because he knew how good he was, and he was like a magnet. So I got to shake hands. Didn't get a kiss, but got to shake hands.
Well, sorry you didn't get a kiss on the cheek.
But it was a fun night. It was very thrilling to be that close to somebody of that stature.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say the other story that we had mentioned was the Rosa Parks story.
Right.
And I had the pleasure and the honor of meeting Rosa Parks. It was around 1992. Again, I was in DC, and a friend took me to an event, and she was at this dinner. She was in a wheelchair, very frail, but he introduced me to her, and I just said what an incredible honor it was to be able to meet her and shake her hand. So it turns out the next week or so, or fast forward to my kids being in my daughter was in kindergarten, I think, or first grade. And they were studying Rosa Parks. So I told my daughter, I said, oh, you make sure you tell your teacher that your mom met Rosa Parks. So, she went to school. She came home that day and she started crying. And I said, what happened? She said, I told them and they didn't believe me. And I was like, really? So I was the, parent volunteer in her class a couple of days later, cutting out something out of construction paper. And I said to the teacher, by the way, my daughter said that she told you that I met Rosa Parks and that, she was really upset you didn't believe her. I said, I really did. She was in a wheelchair. I shook her hand. It was a really big honor for me. And she just smiled and she said, well, Martha, that's because she told us that you met Betsy Ross. So my daughter was a little confused about who I met. So I'm old, but I'm not that old. So
Betsy Ross. Oh, let me check with Susan, see if we have a winner.
Yes, we do. We do have a winner, and it's Tom Liacona with the correct answer of Lou Rawls.
yeah.
Yeah, congratulations, Tom. Congratulations. Thank you for playing. Louise Coughlin McDonald also gave us the correct answer, but Tom was first. So Tom, please, in a private message to the Zebra, give us your address and we'll mail you a signed copy of the book. Thank you so much for playing.
Very knowledgeable when it comes to music history.
And
very good.
Louise McDonald, that I will give her a signed copy of the book as well.
Oh, wow. There you go. Congratulations. That's great. Congratulations.
So let me read the second trivia question. So in which Ian Fleming novel did we get a good look at exactly how much of an alcoholic James Bond actually was?
Wow.
So which Ian Fleming novel is it disclosed that James Bond is an alcoholic? So, Sobrietease 2, let's continue with that. You always have captivating headlines for the snippets. And the one, when I'm going through the book, catches me. It says, the end of the affair. So I go, as a good guy, I go, like, this is going to be good. You start out, you said, I had an affair for 8 years. Okay, we're going to get into some really juicy details. But it takes a different direction that even captivated me even more. Tell the audience about it.
Yeah, so the title was The End of the Affair, and setting it up, as you said, as a juicy story. But it was about my affair with alcohol. And, for so many years, alcohol was my best friend. It was my confidant. It was my go-to. It was what I went to when I was happy, when I was sad, when I was celebrating, when I was mourning, you name it. There was some reason I could justify having to have a drink, even if it was a Tuesday night and being a mom of 3 kids in the suburbs thinking like, oh my gosh, you know what? I deserve this drink. I've been working really hard. And, so I did a TV show, the Good Morning Washington or something like that. There was a man and a woman who were interviewing me on this show. And that was the first thing he said. And, in front of all these people on TV, he's like, so Martha, you had an affair. You had a torrid affair. And I knew where he was going, but I was wondering what all my friends and family were thinking at the time. So, it was an affair with alcohol that had to end. And there's a great quote, and I can't remember who said it, but something about, when you give up alcohol, you're letting go of both your best friend and your worst enemy at the very same time. And it's hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. And the way you portray it, and the terms you used were just so, you can see how you get drawn into the sultry web of alcoholism, excuse me, much like you would in having an affair. So it was very, very smartly done. I got a dry throat.
Thank you. It was a fun piece to write.
Yeah. Hopefully that time. Anyway, we have a winner? I hope so. I'm all choked up.
Go ahead and clear your throat. Was it the Ian Fleming, right?
Yeah.
In which Ian Fleming book or movie, I guess, do we get a good look as to how much of an alcoholic James Bond was? And we don't have an answer yet.
Can't believe my brother's not chiming in with that. He's Mr. Movie. Where are you?
Ian Fleming.
They'll be along in a minute.
Only wrote about 11, so they can narrow it down pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So,
no correct answer yet. Keep going.
Another captivating chapter was God Bless Everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I'm losing my voice. Okay. And it's a take on Christmas Carol.
Mm-hmm.
So tell the audience about that one.
I think that, what I remember writing that is Thanksgiving used to be such a hard holiday for me in early sobriety, the first few years, because I remember, I would start cooking and, maybe we would have a champagne toast. Well, actually, first we would go over to the neighborhood football game at the park. So it would be, the dads playing and all the moms and kids hanging out. And we would start with Bloody Marys or, something, mimosas or whatever. So I would have a few of those and then go back and start cooking. And, usually someone would open champagne or wine or something. And literally by the time it came down to sitting down for Thanksgiving dinner, I was, 3 sheets to the wind. And then I remember, going to a good friend's house where, I was pretty much stumbling at that time. And it's really embarrassing to look back. It's shameful, have a lot of regrets. But the thing is that I have to look forward. I can't fix those. And I like to say that I do a living amends. I've worked hard to, in my sobriety to make amends and apologize to those people that I've been able to. And for those I can't, I think the best thing that I can do is live each day sober and living it the best way that I can. And try to help other people who struggle with it. So the holidays can be really, really tough. And for many people, whether you're an alcoholic or not, when you're dealing with the loss of a loved one or you're alone. So it's a time where many people turn to alcohol or drugs or whatever their drug of choice is. So it was just a hard time of year. So I wrote that piece, God Bless Us Everyone, and just kind of about being authentic and being real, that it's hard, but you don't have to be alone. You can reach out for help. That was kind of the message, I think.
That's a good message because holidays are tough. It's probably the time of the year when there are the most suicides. And so it's a very difficult time for a lot of people. And, most of us enjoy that time, but we have to think about the others and what they're going through at that time. Do we have a winner yet on that one?
Sorry, no, we don't have a winner yet, but we have a lot of guessing. GoldenEye and let's see what else. 10 Classic Cocktails, but I don't know if that's a movie or not. I'm not familiar with it. Goldfinger, Quantum of Solace, but nope, no correct answer yet. And again, it's the Ian Fleming book that we get a good look at how much of an alcoholic James Bond is.
Yeah, I think we're talking about the Ian Fleming books.
The Ian Fleming book, not the movie.
Okay. Not the movies necessarily, because you really don't get the same picture in the movies. No pun intended.
Okay.
So, relapse or renew. No need for shame, right? The theme in that chapter. How important is that to not only your recovery, but anybody else's recovery?
I think it's really important because I remember really early in my sobriety, saying to my best friend, what happens if I blow this? What happens if I fall off the wagon? What happens if I drink again? Are you not going to want to be my friend anymore? And she said, it's not about if you drink again. It's about if you drink again and what you do to get back up. People fall all the time, and it's about getting up and how you kind of restore your grace. So there's another piece in the book called #WeGetUp. And I wrote that about a very special friend, and she coined that term. Well, she didn't coin the term, but she suggested that we use that as our motto for our breast cancer survivor shirts last year. And her breast cancer metastasized to her brain, and when we would text each other, and she was having a rough day, she would just come back with #WeGetUp. So we made that the motto, and I made that the chapter title of one of my pieces. And it was really about, whatever your struggle is in life, it's the grace with which you rebound and get back up that matters. And she has just got this. You mentioned early on that you said something about my intestinal fortitude. I'm nothing compared to the bravery that she exhibits every day in her battle, and other people who are friends of mine who battle much, more difficult things. So that's been a blessing in my life, to watch her and to watch other people who walk the walk with a lot of grace. And I've learned from them about how to get up. And I've seen so many people, many that I've talked to in my sobriety, who've reached out to me for help, who have fallen and have gone back out and drank. Unfortunately, a few of them are dead. This is a progressive disease. It completely wreaks havoc on your body, and dying a death from alcoholism is not a pretty death. So I have friends who, even sober 24 years, and picked up a drink because they thought, what, I think I got this now. I think I'm going to be fine. And your body picks up exactly where you left off. And it's very quickly, it's a progressive disease. So you progressively spiral downward very quickly. So I work really hard to not pick up again, and I have to constantly remind myself of that. So #WeGetUp is a pretty big motto. And yeah, relapse or renew. You can relapse, but I don't mean you can relapse, you shouldn't, but if you do, hopefully you can find your way back. And the thing that I've been most impressed with is a lot of unconditional love and judgment that I've seen given from, one alcoholic to another, or one addict to another, who say, what, it's okay, you're back. You got back up on your feet and you're trying again. And that's all that matters.
Good. Any luck yet with winners?
Unfortunately, no. I'm getting lots of James Bond titles here. Live and Let Die, From Russia with Love, Casino Royale.
Money.
Yeah, Diamonds Are Forever. But nope.
Can't
And
believe my brother hasn't gotten this.
So you
Well,
can.
we've already given the question twice.
So you might have to go to a different trivia question,
So
Ralph.
let's skip to the third, but while I think about the second, right?
Okay, good.
So, name the classic book and the author, and we want the exact title of the book, that's deemed essential reading by most psychologists for the effect of alcohol on personality disorders.
It's a tough one, Ralph.
That's a tough. Well,
if we can't get 007 figured out, I don't know. But you have a following of literary experts, so someone's going to get it.
Someone's going to get that one because, again, you're dealing with personality disorders. So when you think about classic novels, you got to narrow it down to the ones with personality disorders.
If they say Sobrietease 2, Martha Carucci with personality disorder, then I might have to rethink everything.
When yours becomes a classic novel, then. But anyway, so there's another chapter called Menace to Sobriety. It has to do with the challenges you face in being able to stay on path. And Why'd you pick? Well, you offered some advice in there, the things you do. So tell us about what you do to make it easier to stay on path in your daily life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, one of the things I mentioned was just getting a non-alcoholic drink in my hand wherever I go. In early sobriety, it was very important for me to have an escape plan. If I went somewhere and I needed to leave, I would do that. So there were a lot of little tips on what I could do to make it easier for me. But I'm so incredibly grateful that this has gotten easier over the years. Menace to sobriety. My dad used to always joke and say somebody was a menace to society. So I kind of took a play on that from him. But yeah, it's, they say, I wrote a piece in the first book. I don't know if you remember it, called like Drink Devil and Sobriety Angel. And I talk about that scene in Animal House where there's the little devil and the little angel.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what it's like. It's Pinto in that scene in Animal House, but the drink devil is always sitting on my shoulder and is always waiting for me to get either cocky or complacent about my sobriety and not work at it, because they say it's out there doing push-ups, ready for me to pick up again. And I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to go back to where I was. It was a dark time. It was something that, I like I said, I have a lot of regrets on things I did, but I'm looking forward and trying to do the best I can now.
Yeah. No, you can only do that. I mean, you've got to move forward. So what of the chapters you wrote in Sobrietease 2 is among your favorites or your favorite?
I think I have to say, God, there are so many different ones.
I know.
I wrote called I'm Still Standing, and I wrote some of the lyrics to the Elton John song. I'm very fond of lyrics, as you know, and quotes. And there's so many quotes in there that are just people who are a lot smarter than I am have words that I like to quote and pass on. And in the one that was called #WeGetUp, the quote was, someone anonymous said, "Sometimes you have to get knocked down lower than you ever have been to stand up taller than you ever were." And I really love that because, like I said, we all get knocked down by something, and it's a question of how we do about getting back up.
Right. Yeah, it's very good. Before we get into the Sobrietease Manifesto, let's see if we have any winners here.
We do have a winner for question number 2.
Okay.
And it was Michelle D'Amato. You only live twice.
Great. That's correct.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just typing in the question number 3. Congratulations, Michelle. Can you? I'm not sure if I have your email address, or your physical address. So please send it to us in a private message on the Zebra Facebook page, and we'll get you a copy of that book. Okay, Ralph, back to you.
You'll give a little bit of a hint on the third one. The author also wrote Treasure Island. So we'll give him a little bit of a hint. The Sobrietease Manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you come up with that?
Each piece that I write, there's just so many things that go through my head, and I usually, focus on whatever that message is, and I find the quote and I find the title. But with the Sobrietease Manifesto, it was just kind of like a little bit of everything to throw out there. Mostly for someone who is questioning their own drinking. And that happens to me a lot. People say, I'm not really sure if I should stop drinking. I'd like to talk to you. But it just kind of lists the things that have helped me, like just for today. I will not pick up a drink. When I first got sober, and I think that's important for anyone who is looking at, worrying about their drinking or wondering if they should stop, I couldn't imagine the rest of my life not having a drink. And it was, friends that I met who said, you don't have to do that, just for today. You just can't pick up a drink today. And it made it much more manageable for me. And then, another thing that really helped me a lot was when I would think about picking up a drink, or when I would say, I'm not sure I can do this any longer because it's too hard to fight every day. people would say to me, you need to think it all the way through, because you can romanticize the drink and you could think like how great it will taste and it'll bring you back. But the shame and remorse that I would feel, and for me now giving up, 3,051 days of sobriety would really hurt, and it would hurt my family, and it would hurt friends who have supported me along this way. So I have to think it all the way through. And then, things like saying to people, I would rather feel the emotional roller coaster that I feel and on the roller coaster ride, and feel the ups and the downs than not feel anything. And when I drank, it was just to numb and to not feel. So yeah, for anybody going through life, it's hard to feel the painful things. I wouldn't trade feeling the joy that I feel now for, numbing everything out. So the manifesto is a little bit about, I said I discovered the power of gratitude. A lot of people in recovery make it a point to do a gratitude list every day. And that's been very helpful for me. And I said that I can start my day over at any point. And I also said that I learned how to speak my truth and speak it with grace. And that's something that I constantly work on and strive to be better at.
Wow. That's terrific. I mean, it's unbelievable where you are in this whole process, and, shedding the anonymity and coming out and being, so vocal about it. It's just amazing, from where I think back to where I was as a child, 60, 70 years ago. So it's just unbelievable. Any luck with that third question yet?
Not yet. I typed the question in along with the hint. So come on, people. It's, look it up and get it in. So, nope, not yet. But I'll let you know if it comes in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah. The one thing that really caught my attention at the end of the Sobrietease Manifesto was your twist or your take on the Serenity Prayer. And you said, grant me the serenity to enjoy life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So explain a little bit about that and what your thoughts were there.
Yeah, the tagline for the first book was God grant me the serenity to laugh at life. The Serenity Prayer has been a really important in my life. It's God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And the twist that I put on it was, God grant me the serenity to laugh at life. A lot of interviews I did, they would ask me like, why the humorous approach? Why Sobrietease? Why is it, funny? And, it's important for people to know, number one, I don't think this is funny if someone is suffering from alcoholism. I think that I said to people that there were enough tears, I had enough tears and enough difficult times when I was drinking and when I was in the midst of it. And I could either choose to go forward with more tears or with laughter. And I was trying to choose a path of, my best friend always says to try to find the silver linings in life. And that's what I try to do. So when you read the pieces, you'll see that, some of it is hard to read. But some of it is pretty funny because I try to share the humorous approach and I try to share the silver linings that I can. And now that I have some clarity in my head, that I'm not, hungover all the time, I can find the silver linings and I can find the things that I can laugh about. And I think that, whatever your struggle is in life, if you can always take a minute to look for the gratitude and the silver linings, you'll be able to get through it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's a very powerful story and a very powerful message. And it's an inspiration for those that need help and an inspiration for those who can help others. Right. So it's a big win all around. Do we have a winner yet?
We do have a winner.
Okay.
Anne Marie Gordon guest. The author was Robert Louis Stevenson, and the book is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So, Anne-Marie, congratulations. Go ahead and send us your address
Fabulous.
through the Facebook Zebra private message, and we will get a signed book out to you. And thank you so much. Thank you for everybody. We have, Martha, you have a lot of comments, a lot of love coming from people tuning in and listening to you so graciously tell your story. So there's we have a wonderful audience here tonight. So thanks everybody for tuning in and joining the conversation.
Martha, you've been a great guest. Plans for Sobrietease 3, make it a triple.
I don't know. We'll look at that, but I'm working actually on a novel right now, and it's a lot of fun to write. It's very different. It's kind of looking at an expose on the DC lobbying world from the perspective of a female alcoholic lobbyist. So I have no idea where I'm getting that story from, but we'll see.
You know what? As soon as you get that done, let us know.
I'm sending it your way, Ralph.
But thank you. And our next guest will be Paula Green, who wrote The Great Virginia Flood of 1870. And she will be on in 2 weeks. So we'll have a little fun with that one, too. Martha, thank you very much. It was enjoyable. Stay strong, and we're all here to support you whenever you need us.
Thank you, guys. Great to be with you tonight. Thanks very much.
Yep, great show. Thank you, Ralph. Martha, thank you. Great show. And we will, I'm sure, run into you in front of some big wings, I think, pretty soon.
Yes, tell the audience what's going on for the rest of this month.
Go ahead, Martha. Let them know about the Walk to Bust Cancer. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. So Susan did another interview with me earlier tonight where I was wearing a different hat, and that was that of executive director of the National Breast Center Foundation. This month is, as you know, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and every October we do the Walk to Bust Cancer, and because of COVID this year, we're doing it virtually, and we've created something called the Angel Wing Challenge. So my friend that I was talking about earlier, who did #WeGetUp, created these beautiful angel wings that at the Walk to Bust Cancer, people always take their pictures in front of. So we made 2 replicas of those wings, and we're moving them all around Alexandria in front of restaurants, in front of stores, in front of exercise studios, and there's an angel wing challenge. So you're supposed to go find the wings, take your picture, hashtag the restaurant or business or store, and hashtag Walk to Bust Cancer and Angel Wing Challenge, and then tag and challenge 5 friends to do the same thing. So there has been an unbelievable response. My phone keeps ringing with businesses that would like to have the wings in front of their store. And Susan was there earlier tonight. We did a T-shirt pickup for people who have registered for the walk, and the wings were there. So it's been amazing to see all these people who are trying to go all over and find the wings and take the picture and register for the walk. And it's really been something nice and uplifting in COVID. So happy to be a part of that.
Yep,
Great
it was
stuff.
great.
Great
So
stuff.
for that interview today, you're going to have to turn the volume up because, of course, I left my microphones in the car, so it's a little bit muffled, but we can hear you. We could hear you and was it Dora was the board member?
Who's with Dorn? Yeah,
Dorn,
and I really want Mary Wadlin to know that I had my zebra mask on like all week for almost every picture in front of the wings, but Susan made me take it off because she couldn't hear me. So Mary Wadlin, I would have been wearing the zebra mask you gave me at Swing to Bust.
Mary will be torn over that because she would want it to hear you, but she would have wanted you to have the zebra mask on also. So anyway, wonderful show tonight. Wonderful interview, Martha. Thank you so much for again telling your story. Ralph, another great interview. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Okay. Good night, guys.
Thanks.
Good night.
Yep. Okay, that's going to do it for us tonight for ZTV Live. Thank you so much for tuning in. Tomorrow night, please join us. Jane Collins will be here. She's talking about her most recent endeavor, which is she's participating in a virtual The City's Rising Summit put on by the TomTom Foundation. And Jane is the executive director of HEARD, a local nonprofit that gives a voice to the voiceless. And Jane's stories are really wonderful. So please check in and check that out. And then Thursday night, we have the Virginia Amos show is on hiatus this week, but we may have a surprise. We had a nice little interview with Chef Chris Edwards from Hank and Mitzi's. He recently was on the Chopped television show on the Food Network and won. So I was able to sit down today with Chris and have a chat with him. So you'll see that recording on Thursday night. So please tune in for that. And until we see you again here, remember to be kind and to be the good news in someone's life.